Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_dadav. Well, we got to hear from the coordinators, special teams, offense, defense, almost in that order. And then, time permitting, we'll go over the Minnesota Vikings, similar to what we did yesterday. I kind of think we'll get to it, but maybe not, because this usually takes a long time. There wasn't a ton, but I do want to play the audio, so, it might take some time. Pretty interesting note on Elgton Jenkins, which we'll get to. Again, nothing definitive, but certainly turning the corner to, so what's going on now? But why don't we start with Rich Bisaccia here. And again, I don't want to play everything if there's something kind of interesting. There's a lot of generic stuff. What did it mean for you to be able to keep Brandon McManus around? Well, it's great. I don't know. If you've been listening for a while, I hate those questions. I don't understand the point of the question. I don't know what it is. Like, what are we searching for here? What does it mean to be able to keep a guy like Brandon? He's a good kicker and continuity and all that, so you know the answer to the question, so I don't know why you're asking it. Be like after a game being like, tell me how it feels to win the game. What? It feels good. What do you want from me? I don't understand. But here he is asking a question about Mecole Hardman and what he kind of offers to the special teams.
Well, certainly he's got great experience in the league. He's been really productive in both at punt and kick return. So we're looking forward to him competing with some of our other guys. But it's good to have a veteran presence back there that's made big plays before. So
no real strong language there. It's pretty normal for this time of year. I could certainly read too much into that and say, see, it doesn't look like they're certain he's going to stay. But I think they're just very much trying to keep away from generalizations in general. Everything is we'll see. What does he offer? I don't know, man. He just got in here, and I don't even know what job he's going to have. If he's going to have a job, he's going to compete with other guys for jobs, and we'll see how it goes. Next, they were asking about Keyshawn. Obviously, Keyshawn had made some comments about he didn't really want to do it anymore. Here's what he had to say about Keyshawn possibly still being involved in that.
Well, I think I think him and I both, as well as other players, were not in a very good mood after that particular game. And going into that press conference, we've had conversations. So in my mind, he's always going to be in the mix. And we'll see how it works out. But again, it's a new year. Hopefully we got past the part of where we played poorly and did some poor things. We never get to talk after we didn't get to talk after the San Francisco game. We didn't get to talk after the Philly game. And so here we are going into the next year. I'm still, I know we did poorly in that last game, and so I'd like to think we're going to be as good as the next play and try to move on and grow from the last play. I think Keyshawn hopefully will do the same thing.
Next question was, what do you think of the new kickoff rule?
Again, now the thing I think that's good for us is we've had a year to go through it. We've seen some of the things that we did really well on both ends, the kickoff and the return part, and some things that we did extremely poorly on the kickoff return part. I think we as coaches have learned a lot of how we can give our guys in the return game some more tools to probably get themselves in a little bit better position. We're actually waiting for the new rule. They're going to give us 3 float players now, but we're not 100% sure where they're going to be able to line up. So I think we have a conference call on Wednesday with the special teams coaches. We're going to and the officials to kind of get exactly how the new lineup can be with that 3rd float player. But it's here to stay. The UFL switched over to it this year, so I think hopefully we'll get better at giving our guys a little bit more tools, especially in the return game. I thought we played pretty good on kickoff to get some new tools to get a little bit better in the return part, the blocking part.
I cut him off a little early, but the interesting part, obviously we got to learn what the heck he's talking about with the float players. We'll give them time to kind of figure out exactly what that means and what they could do with them, but we'll see what all that's about in the future. But obviously I'm going to say the cool thing, I kind of like it. The cool thing is, as he said, it's here to stay. So it's there's a lot of talk about we're going to try it, we'll see how it goes. Could they possibly go back? Could they evolve into something else? And it sounds like they are slowly evolving a little bit. But, I talked a lot about this last year when they started doing it. I like the idea of, okay, how can we protect the players, which is essentially the first goal, without saying it's the only goal and just making everything else worse? Can we be creative? And granted, the NFL wasn't really creative. They just stole the idea from somebody else, but that's fine. I like the idea of, what if we thought outside the box and we worked really hard to protect the players and make the play better at the exact same time? Rather than just saying, oh, well, if things get worse, they get worse. I don't care because all that matters is protecting the players. Because as I said, not to sound insensitive, but if you play that game out to its most logical conclusion, you just don't have football anymore. You have to just stop playing football. At some point, physicality is a part of it. And if the only thing we care about is protecting the players and we don't care about the quality of the game or the game itself, I mean, you follow that out to its most logical conclusion. Where does that lead you? Feel free to call in and tell me what plan you have, because I promise you, in a very short period of time, I'm going to direct you to, okay, somebody got a concussion, now what do you do? Somebody snapped their leg and their career's done. What do you do now? You can't say nothing. So I really appreciate it where it's, let's not just not try to protect the players. Let's see if we can think outside the box rather than thinking in such a lazy and static way. Here's an opportunity for us to hear Bisaccia talk a little bit about the draft picks, just kind of broad-based, broad sweeps. What do you think you got in the guys that we drafted?
Well, we're all excited about the draft, top to bottom, and then there's a good group of undrafted free agent guys. It's a little bit too hard to tell right now. We had a bunch of walkthrough stuff during the rookie mini camp, and right now today they were just drinking through a fire hose a little bit, trying to figure out where to line up and where to go. But it's a talented group. Obviously, we have some return possibilities, and the two young receiver guys that we got that have both done it before. So some of the linebacker types and defensive end type guys that we drafted are going to be expected to compete to play some spots for us in the kicking game.
So nothing super forceful there, but I think it's a solid question, an opportunity to hear from them. And again, you can tell that that they've already talked about the receivers, including Matthew Golden possibly being a return option. I'm sure most of these guys realize that it's very unlikely that that's where this thing ends up. But the fact that they're still talking about it means it hasn't been ruled out to this point. He's not saying, just avoiding it or talking about, we'll see if Savion Williams can, whatever. He said the two receivers. And then again, you got kind of pointing out the defensive end linebacker guys, saying that they're going to be expected to work on special teams, which again, it's as good of an answer, I suppose, as you can get, considering they haven't even done anything yet. But it'll be interesting to see how that materializes because, again, it's going to be real important when we start talking 53 and we start talking about that kind of stuff, especially as the guys that got drafted a little bit later in terms of how essential you are. I'm not going to be sitting here talking about, our fourth round pass rusher and go, well, we'll see about special teams. No, but, a little bit further on down, stuff certainly matters and we'll have to keep track of it. Question about Simmons, Isaiah Simmons, and what he can offer.
We hope so. We're excited about getting him. I loved him coming out of school. I think a lot of us did. We followed his career a little bit. He's a big, fast, physical guy that can run, and he's made plays before. So we're hoping to put him in position to help him help us. So we're excited. Again,
pretty generic stuff because there's nothing else to get. But, at the same time, the answer isn't yes, definitely. We're excited about it. It's we'll see. I want to play the question with this one as well, just because I want that to kind of go with it. But essentially, we're talking about Nate Hobbs. And remember, this is a former Raider, and so Bisaccia has a long history with all those guys, but especially Hobbs.
Which I think it was the day after Nate Hobbs signed here. He told a story about how you, quote-unquote, changed his life after he got arrested. You brought him in. What are you guys getting in him in both person and football player?
Yeah, Nate, again, it was his rookie year. We went through it's a long time ago, I guess, but I just think he's he's a really talented football player. He's a lot bigger than you think until you get up there and shake his hand. He can really run. He's a physical player. He's got great length. And, he's played multiple positions. He's played in the slot. He's played outside. For us in the kicking game his rookie year, he was all over the place on kickoff, played outside at flyer on punt. So all that being said, what you've seen at him on defense, we've seen some of those in the kicking game as well. I just think we're getting a really good guy that loves football and loves the opportunity to compete. And, he's back with Keyshawn. That was a good thing at one time. And now we have certainly the leadership of X and the play of X back there. So we're expecting really good things for Nate.
And I don't know what happened. Something must have happened. I'm not going to play it, but I'm just going to mention it. I think 3 different times, at least 2, but I think 3 different times, they essentially asked, like, why did you come back? What made you come back? And after, like, the 3rd time, he's like, I don't know why you guys keep asking me that question. Like, I don't know if it's just because he's old or what. It's a very weird thing. This question was, what brought you back? Somebody else said, why did you come back? How much longer do you want to keep doing this? Maybe those were the only 2. I don't know why. I don't know why that question, it feels weird and a little rude, but, whatever. Again, maybe something did come up where he's like, I don't think I want to, I don't know. I'm not sure, but just very strange that they continually asked him that question. Like, so what are you doing here? It's a question about how the in-game decision thing works, considering his job is assistant head coach also. So kind of some clarification on that.
I think we've grown together better as time has gone on, as the seasons have gone on. And so hopefully this will have a chance to, be our best in that manner. We have a lot of conversations before we get to that, as practices are going. But he's got a lot going on, calling the plays and having a pulse of what's going on in the game and defensively and all that. So I think our relationship has gotten much better over the 3 seasons, and I expect it to keep growing in that direction as well.
All right, this is part 2. Obviously didn't finish yesterday. Apologies for that. Let us continue. Here he is talking a little bit about Isaiah McDuffie.
I remember he was one of the first calls I made after watching all the tape when I first got here. So he's a cornerstone, I think, here is what we're trying to develop as far as teams guys, and a guy that goes above and beyond for the team. He's always putting the team above himself, and so it's good to have him, knowing he's going to be around for a while. I expect him to be a great leadership. He's always the power of example by the way in which he does things. He always does everything right. So it's exciting to have him back, especially not only on the field, but in the locker room, his presence and the way in which he goes about his business. It's really good for the young guys to watch him.
Rich, Bill asked you why you came back. How much longer do you want to keep doing this?
I had to do it. I had to. All right, that's going to be it for Rich Bisaccia. Why don't we go ahead and take a break? We'll come back with defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, right out of the gate here, do you think either of your 2 drafted edge rushers can contribute to the pass rush right away?
I hope so. We'll find out. As we get going in the training camp and preseason, and hopefully we can bring them along. But they're 2 guys we liked a lot in the process. I'm very happy that we drafted them. But I think it creates competition, and we'll see. I mean, I hope we can get as much as possible out of them and get some good rush out of them. But they're good players. They both have certain skill sets that we like, and I think they have versatility to them, which we like. Really good guys, smart guys, very competitive, fun to watch their college tape. But we'll find out. I mean, as we really get going now, I mean, there's really not much that we're doing right now other than some individual movement stuff, so it's really hard to tell right off the bat.
The next question, more specifically, the next answer I really appreciate, talking about Oliver. The question was, is there really space on the roster for a guy that's just a special teamer and a designated pass rusher? Now, first of all, I would answer that as yes, considering you'd be talking about depth. But I do appreciate the in-depth answer from Jeff Hafley here.
Who are you talking about? Anyone specific?
Yeah, the 5th-round pick.
Oliver?
Yeah.
I don't see him like that. I don't see him as a DPR and a special teamer. I see him as a guy.
Now, part of the reason I like this answer is because it really clarifies things. Because you could say that that's just a complete contradiction to what we've been told, but not necessarily. I'll get there in a second.
Who has a skill set to play linebacker and to rush off the edge. So I think he can do both. I think he can be an on-the-ball backer, and I believe he can be an edge rusher in certain situations, and I do believe he can be a defensive end in situations. And I think as you guys have gotten to know me, it's about taking the skill set and putting it to use rather than saying, this is our defense, where is he going to play? So we got to get creative and figure out what he can do well. How much can he handle in his first year, right? How much can we teach him? So we're trying to put him in this room and then put him in this room, and he's a sharp guy, but we don't want to overload him. So then he gets on the field and he's thinking, because then he's not going to be playing fast and he's not going to be ready to play. Does that make sense? So I think it's our job, though, to get him ready to see what he can do to help us win football games. But I don't just see him as a DPR and a special teamer. I've watched him closely, and I see a skill set that we have to figure out how to put it to use. And that excites me, right? That's the fun thing about coaching.
So if we clarify what we're saying or thinking or understanding as far as the team's orientation toward him, just putting all the pieces together, it's true and not true that he's a designated pass rusher. And it depends on what we're talking about, short-term, long-term, and then also realistically. Realistically and right now today, he is a designated pass rusher. That's what he is. The full 30,000-foot view, if things go well, if he can handle it, if he can reach his peak, it sounds like the way Jeff Hafley envisions him is a chess piece, but if I'm hearing him right, and I could be wrong, he kind of would love to have him primarily as a linebacker that can blitz from the linebacker position, that can be a pass rusher situationally. So he's kind of a hybrid defensive end linebacker. Again, we kind of knew all of this, but you can hear that specific question and understand that we didn't fully understand or however you want to phrase it. It's good to get clarification so that we're not misunderstanding this. As of right now today, and I think this is what Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur were talking about when they said designated pass rusher and all that stuff. Right now, today, that's what he is. At a baseline minimum, that's what they hope he can be as of today. What they want to try to grow him toward, which I don't know if they're even going to try it this year, is to get him working toward becoming an inside linebacker, see if they can kind of cross-train him, send him that book, the play calls and all that stuff. Obviously, it's the same play calls, but understanding from a linebacker position what all this stuff means, how to line up, how to do all these things. The full view vision of him is this hybrid linebacker pass rusher guy. So it is incorrect to say, why bother with a guy that's just a designated pass rusher special teamer? Well, we're not keeping him around because we think that that's what he is. We think he's this. Right? We think he's a linebacker, pass rusher, hybrid guy that depending on down and distance, we'll move him around, right? He's a pass rusher in this situation, but he doesn't need to just sit on the bench until the next 3rd and 15. We move him to linebacker. Again, situationally, he may not be that or whatever. He will be on the bench occasionally. I mean, it's a rotating defense and whatnot. Unless you're a safety or one of maybe one or two corners, you don't stay on the field the whole time. Or Edgerrin, hopefully. But I think that's the distinction. They didn't draft him to be a designated pass rusher, but he is, as of today, a designated pass rusher. We'll see, first of all, if he can do that. If he can't do that, they might just make a wholesale change to linebacker and say, can you just be a linebacker? Which is going to be sort of the first sign that things aren't working. If he's not getting reps at pass rusher anymore and they just make an official position change, that's kind of a negative. They're going to try and see if that works. If it does, cool. We got a linebacker, and he has, obviously, we'll view him as a good blitzing linebacker, or hopefully. If he can't, then at that point, the next step is off the team. But hopefully, they're going to make him a pass rusher and special teamer. He can do that at a relatively high level. And then as he's kind of taken on that role and can do it well, they're going to start adding some linebacker stuff. Similarly, he's going to talk a little bit about Nate Hobbs and his vision for him.
Yeah, Nate, I see Nate can play outside and Nate can play inside. So we're gonna have him do both. His film was, when you're getting ready for free agency and you're evaluating tape, it's one thing that you love about him. He's had a lot of success inside, and I thought his tape outside was equally as good. He is competitive. He's tough. He is physical. He plays the game fast. You can tell he loves it. It just jumps off the tape. I don't know if you guys watched any of it, but it certainly jumps off the tape the way the guy plays, and he's been a great addition. And he does give you that versatility where you can move him around. And again, I'm a big fan of that.
Normally, I would say that's kind of BS. I mean, not really. They're going to cross-train him no matter what, but everybody knows he's going to end up on the inside. However, the fact that Keyshawn Nixon is also an outside-inside guy, it sounds to me, pending the Jair situation, either way, we're going to have to figure it out. But Keyshawn Nixon and Nate Hobbs are kind of, I don't want to say they're the same guy because they're not, but in a very simplistic sense, they're the same guy. They're outside-inside guys from the Raiders because they're the same guy. And we'll see how it sorts itself out. I mean, Valentine is not going to go inside. So let's assume Jair is not a part of the equation. Valentine's going to be on the boundary, and then it's going to come into a question of Keyshawn and Hobbs and who plays where. And that may alter. That may change, potentially depending on, the matchup and who they're going up against and who's in the slot and who's out wide and the strengths and weaknesses of each. Or they'll look at it and say, yeah, Hobbs is pretty much just a slot guy, and so he'll just stay there. If Jair's there, they may be fighting just for the slot spot, and we'll see kind of who wins that, with depth at both outside and inside with Keyshawn Nixon and Nate Hobbs. And by the way, Keyshawn is the one guy that's going to be super annoyed if Jair comes back. He just going to give away. I mean, that may not true. Maybe Valentine will be the backup. I don't really know how they see all that. It could be, Keyshawn and Jair on the outside, Hobbs on the inside. I don't know. Question about the corner we drafted, as well as one of the UDFAs, Jonathan Baldwin.
Micah had a good year this year at Tulane. He's got great foot speed. He sees the game really well. He anticipates things. He's very instinctive. I think he has a ton of upside, and I'm excited to get to work with him. And then Baldwin from UNLV, he's a guy, when you watch his tape, he's another guy. He plays safety on the field. He plays nickel. He's physical. He'll come up in the run game. He's got really good ball skills, as Micah does, which I'm a big fan of. Both of those guys have a lot of ball production in college, which to me, as you guys know, is probably the most important thing, is taking away the football. So excited to get to work with them. Really, and truthfully, we just haven't had much time yet. They just got back today, and we just had one workout. So as we get more in, I'll be able to let you know more.
This question's about essentially expectations in year two.
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, you say that, I feel like the season was so long ago. So we've kind of moved so far on. And, I mean, this offseason, looking at what we did well, looking at really how we evolved and where we started and where we ended, really to pick up and where we're going, right? So there's a lot that goes into that. First, I would say, I'm proud of the way the guys played in year one, right? The thing that I'm most proud of, I do believe we got better. And I think we played our best football late in the season. And that was the most important thing to me. Year one, you're figuring out the system, you're figuring out the players. Can we get better each week? But probably the biggest thing is, I thought we were playing really hard at the end of the year. Like, we were really physical. We were really running to the ball. Guys were playing confident. Guys were communicating. And I just felt like we came alive. And that's probably the thing. Throw out the numbers, the statistics, where we were. I think we played harder than our opponents at the end of the year, and we were more physical. And that's what I'm most proud of and appreciate the most of the guys.
Ordinarily, I would say I don't like that, but having kind of, maybe this is just the maturation process of being a fan, is realizing that these quote-unquote stupid statements are actually more deep and profound than you realize. ordinarily you look at it and go, no, I care about the stats because the stats are the results and I care about results and that's it. But how many years have we seen failed defenses where you recognize that the problem is much more fundamental than, boy, we just can't seem to find the right players. There's something about the play style. We've never been this mean, physical, violent football team. And so hearing him say that, as a Packer fan, it's very easy to completely agree with, yeah, I'm not going to say I don't care, which he didn't say that either, but I'm not going to say I don't care, but I am all in on what you're saying right now.
Expectations, in a perfect world, you want to get back to where you left off as fast as possible and build from there. So how fast can we do that, right? We have guys who have played in the system. We have some new pieces we need to add. We need to evolve. We can't just do the same thing, say, here's the playbook, this is what we're running. No, we're a different team. It's a different year. Offenses are going to evolve. We have to evolve. I would say I would like us to be more consistent, okay? There's a lot of things we did do well, but I think the consistency needs to improve. Certainly, I need to improve, looking at myself personally, how I called games, what I called, when I called it, how I got to certain things. Can I get there faster? My relationship with the players in year 2, I feel like there's kind of a trust built, so we can the relationship, I think, can get even better. But to me, it's how fast can we get to where we finish the season and then build from there and evolve and be more consistent.
Jeff, from your
It's a phenomenal answer, in my opinion. It's very. By the way, he's very good at this. He's very good at explaining things in a way where I feel like either I learned something or the answer fundamentally makes perfect sense as to exactly what we're doing and exactly what the process is, why, and whether you need to or not, selling me on this is the right course of action. There's nothing seemingly profound in what he's saying, but compare this to any other coach or coordinator that you've ever listened to. I can't think of a single person who's been able to do that in the way that Jeff Hafley has. Hearing that game plan is like, that's a great idea. Yeah, 100% that's what needs to happen. Here's about Covington, our new defensive line coach, kind of why did you move on and then why Covington?
Yeah, I'll go more into the second part more than the first. We interviewed a lot of guys. A lot of really good candidates. As soon as the season was done, that's, Matt, myself, and a few other coaches, we sat down and we interviewed a bunch of really good coaches. The style of DeMarcus, how he has taught in a lot of different systems and a lot of different schemes. They've done a lot over there. They're with Coach Belichick and some of the stuff he's done in New England. They've done a lot, and I like the fact that he can coach a bunch of different techniques. He's been involved with a lot of different fronts. I love his demeanor. I love the way he coaches. I love the relationship he has with his players. We did our homework on him. I kind of knew him when I was at BC. They came to practices. I went to practices, so I had a chance to watch him a little bit. Very, very smart, big picture guy, has been a coordinator, right? So he can bring some new ideas, some fresh ideas. I'm big on trying to stay ahead of things, right? So he brings some of that, from their scheme, maybe some of the stuff that we can add in that fits what we do. He just, to me, felt like a great hire, great person, character, and I'm glad that he's here. And I think he's done a really good job. I've sat in a bunch of those meetings now. He's a really good teacher. He's got a great progression on how he teaches. And I think he's very easy to understand, and I think he's done a very good job with those guys.
This is the one thing I keep forgetting, and I need to keep reminding myself, is not getting so static in this is the way it is, this is the way it's always been, and then just looking to what's new to change things, right? Well, we've got this new wide receiver, we've got this new offensive lineman, we've got this new, right? We also have to look at things like progression, right? As much as I harp on it, I keep forgetting how big of a deal it is with Jordan Love. There's a lot of what ifs there, and depending on how that falls and which direction those fall, those what ifs are massive. And if that dude can get back to being the guy that he was, even if he's not exactly that, and I don't care. That's not the point. If he can get back to being that dude, we are in such unbelievably good shape. Right? The defensive line as a whole, just by itself, without Covington, and looking at how that materializes, or, let's say Jair does come back, remembering that the defense didn't have him most of the year and what kind of an impact that could make. This is another one of those. Kind of look into it and go, okay, well, Wyatt is just sort of a decent pass rusher, can't stop the run. Kenny's career is over. Brooks and Wooden, they're backups. They're not very good, but they're backups. One of them's good, one of them's terrible, at least, and I never remember which one's which. And, we got a new guy. He's a rookie. He's a late-round guy. Maybe he can help against a run. I don't know. Not giving any credence to the idea that maybe this guy can come in the same way that we put our hope in new defensive coordinators to fix the overall defense. Maybe we should put our hope in somebody like Covington to get his hands on a pile of first-round picks from Rashawn to Wyatt to Kenny to Van Ness, just a across-the-board pile of premier talent, and see what he can do with it. So I love when I get reminded of guys like Covington because it gets me excited all over again. Next question, essentially, I guess you could just phrase it as, how do you want to focus on rushing the quarterback? Do you want to kind of do it the way you evolved to? Do you want to get back to your main core philosophy? Do you want to, that sort of a question?
Last year again.
Yeah, we'll incorporate it for sure. I think that's one area that we need to coach better, and I think we need to see that translate to the field. But yeah, there was a lot of things that we did, looking back and really spending time in the last few weeks that, I kind of thought would go differently, but then you evolve, right? The exotics had success, so we ran them. People will have that film now, so they'll be studying the exotics in the off-season. So again, we just can't sit here and say, it worked last year. It probably won't work as well, right? Because people are studying it right now. So can we rush with?
And again, these are kind of the nuanced things that I think fans, myself included, not that we don't know, but just that we don't always think about, and we forget. We get so hung up on, this is what worked, and so this is what we need to do more of. This is what didn't work, so we can never do it again.
4, can we rush with 3? But we have to get better, and I'm talking to myself. I need to be better this year. Our coaches need to coach better. Our players need to play better. We just don't want to stay the same. We want to be better. We lost in the playoffs. That wasn't good enough. We felt like we could have played better, even in that last game when the score was 16-10 and we gave up a field goal. I get it. We did some good things in that game, but we could have had another stop, right? So I could have done a better job there. And then who knows what would have happened. So you got to look at it from that lens. And, if we're rushing with 4 early in the season, does that mean we're going to be rushing well at the end of the season with 4? No, we got to figure it out as we go, but I think we'll be able to do that better. I'm confident there.
The next question and answer I won't play, but I'll just summarize because it's longer than it needs to be, but I think it's a cool, again, reminder. The question essentially was, how do things differ last year to this year? And the answer was essentially, it's massively different because instead of coming in and getting to know guys and getting to understand their play style and basically building something from the ground up, we're now doing what he talked about before. We know each other. We know the scheme. We know all this stuff. We need to hurry, install the new stuff and then race as fast as we possibly can to getting back to where we were. So we're not screwing around this year. Now it's balls to the wall. I want to be ready by week 1, just ripping people's faces off. Next question pertains to how do you kind of replace TJ Slaton?
Pretty good in the interior. Devontae and Kenny, Carl, Colby, all those guys inside. I feel good about our interior guys. Even take away the addition of those guys, hopefully we'll get something out of them. But we got pretty good guys on the inside of our defense that I'm confident we can continue to do that. And if we have to change up and do some things different schematically with them, we will. But we got a good group in there.
I imagine we won't be asking you this season about what Edgerrin Cooper needs to do to get on the field more. What is the next step for him after the rookie year he had?
I love listening to him talk about Edgerrin Cooper.
Consistency. We talked and sometimes joked about, he might have had that gap, but he made the play over there, right? I think there was a toss run over there that instead of going over the top of the blocker, somehow he ran underneath the blocker and still made a TFL. Now it's getting the details down. Now it's lining up exactly where he needs to line up and doing it over and over and over again, because then he's going to show up faster and he's going to make more plays and he's going to become a more consistent player. And have you guys seen him at all lately?
No.
I mean, when you see him now, he looks different. I mean, he's bigger now. I mean, he's got to be close to 240 pounds. I mean, this is year 2 for him. He knows what it's going to take. He knows what he has to do now to stay healthy. Because as much as we talked about not having him on the field last year, he was injured quite a bit, where he missed a lot of time and didn't practice and couldn't play. Now he knows what it's going to take to stay healthy in this long season. And you can tell he dedicated that time and took care of his body, and he changed his body. And now when you sit with him in that room, he's locked in and he's focused. And now he knows what he's doing. Your first rookie year can kind of be like...
So crazy that he was one of the best players on our entire team. And like he said, he was kind of out there just freewheeling it. And the only thing that kind of, and I'm sure I'm overthinking this, the only thing that kind of scares me is if we try to refine that too much and be like, okay, I need you to really understand what you're supposed to do. I think the goal is to make sure you're still not thinking, but just you're not thinking because it's instinctual as opposed to I guess we're trying to build new instincts. But I don't want to go over that rough patch where you have to think for a little while. But anyway, the bottom line is it is crazy that he came in, really didn't know what he was doing, but it was just like see ball, get ball, and just made plays. And the concept of we can make it better. Like I can make it so that you have, if you just do it the right way, you make more plays, bigger plays, you're going to be a freak.
Survival mode a little bit too. So he just needs to be more consistent. He's got to stay healthy. And, continue to improve. And he's a guy that we're really excited about because he can do a lot of different things, too.
There was a question asked about Jair. Essentially, the question was phrased in a way so that it was, what would it mean to the team to have him back? I'm guessing trying to elicit some kind of an answer, knowing that he's going to be evasive. He definitely gave us a lot of opportunity to speculate here with this answer because it was extremely evasive. I'm guessing... The problem is you don't want to heap praise on a guy if it doesn't work out, and you certainly don't want to say we're going to be fine without him. Because when you listen to it, it's like it's weird that he doesn't want to talk about it. It kind of made me uncomfortable in terms of maybe he's not coming back, because it shouldn't be hard to be like, we love Ja, he's great, all that stuff. But at the same time, you could understand, especially if he was prepped ahead of time, like just let's not talk about it, let's, whatever. But I think that's where it made me uneasy, but I think that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I think we'll leave that one up to
just the very beginning. Let me just back that up. The way he grumbles and groans and is like, I don't know.
To have him back.
Yeah, I think we'll leave that one up to see what happens rather than talk on any hypotheticals to answer that fairly.
I still have to ask him.
No, I respect the question, and I hope you respect my answer on that one. So I'd rather not talk about hypotheticals, and whenever everything pans out.
And by the way, that's a cop-out. They do talk about hypotheticals. They might be kind of evasive, but they don't just stonewall it and say, I don't talk about hypotheticals, because they do.
We figure out who's here. We will do the very best.
Almost every single question is, what do you think this can do? Or what do you want? What would you like from your defense in year 2 is in some kind of a way sort of a hypothetical. What do you have in a guy like this? What do you think you have in this player that you drafted? Those are all hypotheticals. Just saying.
We can and put them in great positions and making plays, and when I find out, we'll do that.
Next, and I believe final question is, how much more creative can the defense be?
It depends how fast they can learn and how fast they can pick things up, especially some of those younger guys. But I think the more versatility you have, I think it helps. I think situationally on third down, I think it helps. I think as you get into the red zone, it helps. I think you can come up with some stuff to be creative and really put pressure on the offense based on personnel groupings. Are we playing with 5 down linemen? Or are we playing with 4 down linemen? Who counts as the big? Do we have 3 down linemen? Is he a big? Is he an off-the-ball backer? I just think the more pieces you have, is he a nickel? Is he a safety? Do you have 3 safeties on the field? Do you have 2 safeties and 3 corners on the field? I think it makes them think, and I think we can simplify it. so it's simple for us and try to be more complicated for the offense. And where it also helps is if guys go down and they get injured, you have guys who have played with experience that you can kind of move them around. So I like it. I'm a fan.
All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back and hear from Adam Stenavich. I had mentioned, I think yesterday when I started this, that there was some interesting stuff said about Elton. Well, that's completely blown up now. We're not going to have time today to talk about it. I'm unfortunate because it's unfortunate because I'm a day behind now. Tomorrow is going to be an interesting, and we'll see if there's any further developments. But tomorrow's going to be an interesting day. Sounds like there is something going on with Elton Jenkins and his contract. Again, we will delve into that more in detail tomorrow, but we kind of get our first hint with Adam Stenavich today. But we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Alrighty. Finally, Adam Stenavich. Right out of the gate, what do you think you get from the new interior offensive line? It's obviously a very big turnover, pun intended.
However it shakes out there.
Yeah, no, we got some really good competition across the entire offensive line. Love Banks' physicality. I think he's really going to step up our game there. And just a good veteran presence. I think, is a guy that we're going to lean on in a lot of different situations, but I'm excited about having him in there.
By the way, I'm excited about how excited they are about Banks. I'm obviously, as you've probably gathered, skeptical. The grading and whatnot hasn't been super great, but the proof will be in the pudding. If we start running the ball better and, you go back and watch. I mean, I've certainly had disagreements with PFF. I think a lot of people especially dislike their grading of offensive linemen. And there seemed to be no doubt among, within the Packers as well as just kind of league-wide, the value that guy brought. So I will keep an open mind to that, certainly. I'm definitely excited about the fact that they went out and got this big, mauling offensive lineman to come in and play. So we'll see. I'm a little torn. It's kind of like the Matthew Golden thing. I want to be excited. There's plenty of reason to be excited, but there's a couple little things that are preventing me from doing so, which is stupid, and I should let it go.
To up our physicality for sure.
So what does Elton think of playing center?
I think he's open to it. The conversation that we've had with him, he's got a lot of experience there, and he was open to it, excited about it. So
that was the first question about Elton, and it was kind of the first little feeling the situation out, without directly asking, does he want to play center? And that was, swing and a miss, Yeah, no, he loves it. It's great. Then you get the more direct follow-up.
Ready to go.
So that's not why he's not participating so far in the offseason?
No, he's here for or not here for other reasons than that.
So, I heard that, and I'm like, wait, first of all, he's not here, as in it's Monday and everybody should be there, and he's currently not there. We're not talking voluntary now. We're talking involuntary. We are holding you here against your will, whether you like it or not. He's not there for that part. And so at that point, I sort of began to panic a little bit. But again, some news has come in on that. Even I haven't fully read up on it, although I think I've got the details down. We'll cover it tomorrow. It's not the adult entertainment incident. It sounds like it is a contract situation. But again, these things are always kind of fluid. The reason I think that is because it sounds like Wilde did know all along and just played it off like he didn't for some weird reason. I don't know. But anyways, that is a thing right now. So and there's also a Jaden Reed thing now, which might be something, might be nothing, on top of the, could Romeo Dobbs be a thing? And just always this feeling of trying to hold this thing together, there's quite a bit of questions. I'm not going to play it all because it's all one big answer. I mean, there's questions about, is Elton going to get a shot to play tackle? Is Morgan still going to get a shot to play tackle? All that. Could you have guys exclusively play tackle? The bottom line answer is no. We are going to, yes to the first, no to the second. We are going to be cross-training these guys. We're going to be very open-minded. Now, in the same with this as in with most cases, they're telling the truth and they are open-minded, but there are percentages here. what is the percentage chance that Jordan Morgan is the left tackle compared to Elton Jenkins being the left tackle? It's very different. I'm willing to bet they are very, very, very certain Elton Jenkins will be their center. But they're going to let these guys try different things and see how it goes, and maybe they'll give Elton a snap over there, and just because we want to let what's his name, Monk needs to go in there, and maybe rather than take a break, you take a tackle rep, huh? What do you say, big guy? Go ahead, go for it. Frickin' knock yourself out. That's a good rep. No, that was a great rep. Now get back at center. I'll play this one here. This is a question about Rasheed Walker and kind of how is he hanging in there, considering he's been a quality tackle, and every year they seem to want to keep giving his job away, which I think is a fair question.
Yeah, no, he's been great, and he understands kind of what this league's about, and it's every day you got to earn your spot, and that's what I like about the competition that we have in our offense right now, is just everyone's going to have to show up and play well in order to keep their spot, because there's a bunch of good young players that are hungry.
What do you think of the first-round pick?
Golden?
Yeah.
Yeah, like him. Looks fast. Yeah, we'll see. Once we get out there, obviously OTAs, you'll kind of get a feel for him. But I'm really excited to kind of see as we progress through training camp and all that stuff, the plays he's going to make. I'm fired.
By the way, I love the way he answered that. There was no hesitation, and there was no sort of like, yeah, we'll see. It was just big old smile. Yeah, like him. Like him a lot. He tried to play the we'll see card, but you could tell he's fighting back the excitement, trying to push forward the we'll see. Almost reminded me of the, who is that actor? Does a Christopher Walken impression. Humans don't scare me, marsupials do, 'cause they're fast. Kevin Pollak is his name. It's Frankenstein, not humans. Found it.
How's it going? Frankenstein never scared me. Right. Marsupials do, because they're fast.
I don't know why it reminded me of that.
Yeah, like him. Looks fast.
Getting his thoughts on Anthony Belton.
Yeah, he's a big guy, but he moves really well. Just watching him in drills and stuff in our rookie minicamp, I was really pleased with just watching him move laterally and things like that. So I was impressed with him just, getting my first glimpse of him on the field in person.
Savion Williams.
He's a guy that is really interesting, and you could come up with a zillion different ways to use him in your offense. So that's one guy I'm really fired up about. But I think the good thing now is, like, we have a good core of older wideouts, and then we got these two young guys coming in that are really special. So it's not like they have to start and be the guy at a certain position. We can kind of put them in different places, see where they excel, and kind of move them along from there. But I'm excited about a lot of the different things that we can do with Savion for sure.
I'm just going to play the full question on this one just because it's better than me trying to summarize it.
Steno, with that versatility, Matt made a comment about Reed when we talked to him last about all the hits he took and wanting him to be fresher down the stretch. He obviously didn't have a whole lot of production. Can Williams take some of that if he's up to the task?
I think both those guys can, for sure.
Okay.
And yeah, it's kind of like, with a running back, if you got two guys that can carry the load, they definitely, it gives you more juice at the end. So I think that's definitely a case, hopefully, that we can, get going as the season rolls on, that these younger guys can get more touches and kind of spread it out.
I know it's way early, but how does Reed just look to you in this? And I mean, he was so good. He led you.
Yeah, he looks great. He looks like the same Jaden, fast, explosive, smile on his face. I think, maybe he just got worn out. A lot of hits. I know he had that shoulder injury in the last game, obviously, so, but he looks great now.
I just thought it was interesting because I don't know that it's really ever been brought up in terms of Jayden Reed, what happened. The question was specifically what happened down the stretch. I'm trying to figure out exactly what the thought process is because Stenovich seems to agree. He had an injury, he was wore out, something happened down the stretch. I don't know exactly what we're referring to. I mean, what is the metric that he kind of fell off in? I mean, he had a 6-yard game week 17 against Minnesota. That's not great. He also had a 0-yard game week 14, so you could say, okay, so down the stretch at the end. But he also had a 10-yard game week 7 against Houston and a 9-yard game week 2 against Indy. So the 10 yards or less games are very evenly distributed throughout the season, like one per quarter. I mean, if you look at 100-yard games, he hit 3 of them, and it's week 1, 4, and 9. So I guess you could say the first half he had 3, the next half he had none. If you want to be super strict with 50 yards, he only had 1 game over 50 yards after that week 9, although the last 2 games were 48 and 46, so it was basically 50 yards. I guess there just isn't really consistent dominance in the beginning of the season for me to understand why we're saying what happened at the end of the season. It was 138, then 9, 50, 139, 78, 28, 10, 55, 113, 23, 26, 24, 0, 34, 76, 6, 48, 46. I mean, I guess that stretch there, even if we include the last 2 games as being decent, 20, 20, 20, 0, 30, and then the 76 game against New Orleans was kind of like his one decent game, and then 6 yards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games of not hitting 35 yards outside of the one game, right? That's a pretty rough stretch. From a grade standpoint, he was actually probably better the second half. I mean, he had 3 bad games, but if you look at, the first 8 weeks, it's 90, 60, 60, 70, 70, 60, 40, 50. So he had 3 good games and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 average or worse games. The second half would have been 70, 70, 60, 70, 40, 70, 70, 40, 50, 70. So that's 6 good games, 1, 2, 3, and 4 not good games. So like I said, I've not really, to me it felt more like it was very inconsistent kind of across the board. There was no period where he was just dominant for a long stretch. I mean, the longest stretch would probably be weeks 3, 4. I mean, again, depending on your criteria for what good is, but weeks 3, 4, and 5 was really the only 3-game stretch where he had 50 yards. 50, 139, 78. And if it wasn't for that 9 week 2, he had a 138 week 1 as well. But the first 5 weeks of the season were, unless that's what we're saying, after the first 5 weeks he fell off. But I don't know, I found it interesting because I'm trying to figure out what stretch we're talking about and what went wrong in that stretch. Because, again, I see it as just kind of very consistent across the board in his inconsistency. Good game, bad game, mediocre game, good game, mediocre game. If we're adding in touchdowns, mediocre game, 28 and a touchdown. Bad game, mediocre game, good game, mediocre game, bad game, good game, 24 yards but 2 touchdowns. Bad game, mediocre game, decent game, bad game, mediocre, mediocre. Just mostly looking at yards and touchdowns, but I don't know. I would be interested to know what the general thought is about him starting off hot and then kind of not being good down the stretch. Tucker Kraft and his opportunity expectations, etc., for year 3?
There is. And that's one thing we spent some time on this offseason is just kind of where we can, get him to take the next step. And I think just his route running ability, getting him on more individual things like that, and just kind of growing him there. I think he did a really good job in the run game. And that's one thing, hopefully he can just keep improving there to be a dominant player up front. Just trying to find different ways to get him the ball. That's going to be the big thing for us.
I'm going to play this next question because I want you to hear him say at a certain point, because I think that's pretty telling
for us.
Stoner, you guys obviously felt Jordan Morgan's the spot at which he could most likely start was right guard. What makes you think he can be a successful NFL left tackle, even though he didn't play in college?
The one thing about him is he has elite athleticism. Like, guy moves well, he's fast, he can redirect. So I think now is just a good time to put him out there and see how he does and just watch him compete.
I found it interesting that he didn't push back, but also said, when it came to him being a right guard. Now, again, kind of benefit of the doubt here, potentially what all he's agreeing to is, yeah, last year we obviously felt that was his position. But I thought that was interesting. And then the other interesting thing, kind of for the exact opposite reason, is it sounds like what he's saying is they're going to, again, try him at left tackle. Remember, they started him at left tackle last year, pretty quickly moved him into inside, and that was kind of the end of that. So he's kind of making it seem like they're going to push him back out there and say, okay, now's the time. Let's see if you can do this, you can pull this off. What does Jordan have to do to get to where you want him to be?
No, I think that's a good question. And for him, it's consistency in everything he does, improving accuracy, improving his footwork, and just really taking command of just another step in the offense. And one thing, we talked to with all these guys is just doing a great job communicating with each other, quarterback to receiver, quarterback to O-line, and just making sure everyone's on the same page with each other, not necessarily coach to player, but player to player. And I think that's where you get the best teams, is those player-led teams where guys are really on the same page out on the field for sure.
Not much in terms of an answer, but here's him talking about Marshawn Lloyd.
Yeah, we're still, I'm excited about this OTAs and training camp just to see him get out there and run around and see what he can do. So he's been here all offseason working hard, and he's got the speed, he's got the size, so I'm excited to see kind of him get out there and make some plays.
Kind of an interesting answer, especially for me as a Musgrave fan, but interesting answer in terms of how do you get the play action dialed up a little bit?
Yeah, I think, having Musgrave back is going to help us. In 12 personnel, you can do a lot of good stuff out of 12 personnel as far as the play action game. And then just his juice and speed down the field is definitely just another area of our offense that we really have kind of scratched the surface on. But yeah, we're always looking for different ways to amp up that play pass game. So that's one thing I think this offseason we're really going to focus on for sure.
Again, won't play it, but another little interesting note, Luke Getsy apparently is primarily going to be working with the quarterbacks. He has kind of a broader role in general, but he's primarily right now focused on working with the quarterbacks, which makes sense. You got a new young QB coach who could probably use the extra hands, extra resources. But that's going to be his primary role. Here he is talking about QB4 Elgersma.
Yeah, he's been cool. Obviously, we just had him for a short time with the rookie mini camp, but he was impressive. Just, you give him a little bit of information before he shows up, and he was very prepared, very smart kid. We brought him in for a 30 visit, during the draft process. And the one thing I like about him, he's got great arm strength. He's raw for sure, but he's going to, put a lot of competition in the QB room, and I think that's important for every position room to just have a good base of competition so that you can see, it brings out the best in all the players. But yeah, I'm interested to see kind of how he develops over the next few weeks and months and see what happens.
And then I think final one here, talking about Jordan Love being more vocal as a leader.
Yeah, there's been good communication between him and all the other position groups. I think that's a big step that I think is really going to help us, as we go forward this season for sure.
All right, kids, there you get it. There's the three main coordinators. Again, tomorrow the focus will be on the drama, Juicy Man drama, and that'll be the plan. But for today, I'm going to leave you with that. You guys have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.